stoked?
Yes, it was a good performance against a good team. Obviously, we started really well, which helps when you're away from home. But we've got a lot of respect for the way we play. And to be frank, we haven't played well against them the last few times we played them. And so we adjusted a few things based on the way we knew that they played. But the message was really clear that you can know what they do. They're actually, I think, and this is not a criticism, it's actually a compliment, they're quite easy to scout. But the best teams that I know over history have been easy to scout. You just can't stop it. But it was just a bit more real for us because sometimes you can have respect for opposition teams, but you've been good enough to beat them in the past. But we hadn't been good enough to beat them, so that maybe gave the game a little bit of an extra edge for us.
First 12 minutes, so 4 goals on the jump. What was the key to the way you started?
Well, I mean, even without Darcy, their strength is around the ball, in our view. And we were able to get field position and put them under pressure in our forward half. A few nice play completions from our forwards, but again, against them at this venue, a lot on the line. If you're giving up field position from the stoppages, which is clearly sort of their strength relative to ours, I'd say, then we knew we'd be under pressure. So I think if I had to put it down to one thing, it was the guys around the ball getting it done early.
Just from the naked eye, it looked like you guys were hungry in that last quarter when the game was set to be won. Is that how you saw it as well?
I almost never see it that way at AFL level. I completely agree that sometimes it can look that way, but I think it discounts fatigue. I think it discounts the way the game's being played, what the opposition are doing. Like my time at Geelong, when we lose, people say, oh, we don't look like we're running well enough, or we look a little bit slow, and then we win by 10 goals the next week and they doesn't seem to be a problem. I think it can be a bit deceiving. So I saw nothing to my eye in the way they were going about it that suggested that they weren't up for it.
What did you think the critical factors were down the stretch?
Well, I thought when the game was really on the line, 2 or 3 points either way, we were able to sort of hold on defensively. And again, they were very, very different game styles. And it's one game where you've got to look a little bit deeper than the stat sheet because it'll obviously look quite lopsided in some areas. But you have one team determined to play a certain way and another team playing a completely sort of different style. But when they do sort of possess the ball, spread the ground, it can be taxing to defend. And I thought we were able to do that well enough to deny their scoring chances, and then we're able to hurt them the other way, which late in the game, it might be sort of what you're referring to, when there were a few fast breaks and in the space. We've got some pretty dangerous players in our forward half, and with space and even numbers, they can be hard to counter.
I thought Dangerfield's strength was huge today. I'll get to that in a second.
Yeah.
I just want to ask you about his volley in the goal square 4 minutes to go. What was going through your mind at that point?
Oh, well, the same thing that every armchair expert, with the benefit of watching the game from above and not knowing who's behind him, if he grabbed it and kicked it, it would have helped. But he's got a fair few credits in the bank, Pat. But do you want me to segue to his last quarter?
Segue to that, how good he was today, just how strong he was and how good he was
and,
in the result. And
I thought especially in the last quarter, there was, how long ago was it when Fife first played on Dangerfield? A long time. And it was, how good's this to see? And to think that in 2024, 2 teams in finals contention, and we're seeing it again, it was great for a footy fan. But obviously the game was red hot at the start of the last quarter, and as much as anyone, we thought he was the one that sort of took the game away from them. And one of the things, and it's only one of the things that's made him a great player over the years, is that he can get you in different ways. In the last quarter, those big contested marks, sort of A-mid, it's, for a guy with that sort of speed and, for such a renowned ground level player, his ability to go forward and trouble the opposition is a strength that's nice for us to have.
He's had a clear run at it now for a good month, and it's showing, isn't it, at the right time?
Yeah, look, we're not saying it's a repeat of what we've done in the past, but we do have a bit of a plan when it comes to these things. And it's not just Pat, it's players kind of his vintage, but also his makeup. He's a really fast twitch athlete, which is obvious, and you never want them to get injured, but when they do at that age, we made a concerted effort to prioritise later in the season and held him back a little bit. And we think that that's worked for us before, and we see no reason why he can't be in really good shape for the last couple of months this year. And this was a good example. Like I tend not to worry about age. I just back what the running data is telling us, and more importantly, what our eyes are telling us. And he hasn't lost any speed or power to my eye.
Was Rowan pre-game, was Bruin during the game? You talked to both those guys.
Yeah, so Rowan, we just decided to be a bit cautious with him. We brought him over with the intention of playing him. Now, nothing happened, but we had a few other priorities that we were thinking about in terms of the way we wanted to set up the game. And it was just, in the end, prudent to us to hold him back for another week. So when you hear that, you might think that, well, he missed a week with concussion. Did he have some other symptoms? That's not true. It was just, for a number of reasons, we thought it made sense to hold him back. Now, he'll play next week at Marvel. They're always good decisions, those, when you get the win. If we had have lost, I think, especially when you think about those last quarter fast breaks, I'm sure I'll be sitting here thinking, I wish we had him in our forward half, but all's well that ends well. And Tanner? So it was communicated to us that at half-time he just had some dizziness symptoms, so he was taken out of the game straight away. I don't know any more than that. Do you want to elaborate, Mac? Yeah.
Do you have confidence that you've come for an away win and you're only multiple goal scorers as Shannon Neal and Sean Manor? Do you find that you've got this incredible depth to hit the scoreboard?
Yeah, it's a good point. I mean, we'd like to think that we can do it in different ways when we play well. So last week, Cameron kicked 6, and we're fine with that. But ideally, you'd like to be playing a style when things aren't going your way necessarily, can change it up and challenge your opposition with different looks. So, and to your point, sort of being away, I think you almost steel yourself for the fact that you're not going to have one of those days where everything falls into place. Even when we kick the first 4, you sort of, you're still on edge because you know that's not the way the game's going to go the whole time. So you need to be prepared with different options. Even Cameron up the ground in the last quarter, we think worked for us.
Do you allow yourself to look at what this does from a latter perspective, given everything else that's going on at the moment? Are you able to reflect and think, well, this could be so crucial for you later in the year?
Yeah, a little bit. I think that's a coach's job. Those that say they just take it 1 week at a time either aren't telling the truth or aren't doing their jobs properly. But what you are trying to do is get the players away from thinking that way. We need to be across all that, but our players just need to get the next bit right. But it's just reinforcement that it's just so tight. I think I said last week, we beat Adelaide, and what are they on the ladder? I'm going to guess 14th, 15th, something like that. They're not that team. It's just that you just got a chunk of teams, and even so, the results over the weekend, I was going to say you got a chunk kind of 3rd to 15th. No, it's from 1 to 15 to my observation, and so much depends on the day. So if you start as a player thinking too far forward, you're going to get stung. So, but yeah, it's obvious, isn't it, that in the context of the season, it was a pretty important game.
How do you feel, I guess, as a team, you're placed to produce your best footy at the right time now, given you're on a bit of a roll, 6 of 7 games now? Yeah,
look, we're confident, but not overconfident, I hope, because I stress. We were 7-0 to start the year. I feel like I've said this over and over again. Didn't feel like we're the best team in the comp and everything was perfect. And then we lost some games in a tough part of the draw to good teams, most of them by a small margin. Didn't think we were going that badly either. So it's more, I suspect what's going to happen at the end of the year is one or a couple of teams will get hot and play their best footy, and they'll be the ones to beat. And it may well be that better teams get beaten because they're just going through a patch of the season where they're not peaking. So we spend a lot of time thinking about that stuff. But it's art as much as science.
The way the results have panned out this weekend, it even opens up the top 2 for you now. How much do you look at that, and how crucial would that be in your quest?
Yeah, well, I mean, it's preferable. I mean, I think all this stuff's obvious. So you'd prefer to play at home, but prefer to finish 3rd or 4th rather than 5th or 6th and take our chance to go away and win a final in the first week. So I think this is the cliche that's true. When you get to this stage of the season, you like to be in a position where you can control your destiny a bit. And I think it's that way without looking at it closely. So yeah, preferable, but not impossible to do it the other way.
And I guess on paper, people look at St Kilda and West Coast and be like, oh, that should be okay? I'm guessing you think
Yeah,
differently, but-
well, I think differently. Watched a bit of West Coast today. St Kilda have played. I'm guessing they've got 8 or 9 of their last 10 at Marvel. They're specialists there, and when they're hot, they can look pretty good. So I just consider that West Coast have had a tough year, but are improving. Their best footy's been pretty good. Watched them pretty closely in our prep for Freo over here, and they look better than Freo for big patches of the game. So, yeah, get the next bit right is the answer.
Mm.